We may not be able to get in on the hurling action like we're used to yet, but we can get in on some exclusive offers from Renault. To celebrate their third year as official car partner of the GAA, Renault is offering a range of special offers exclusive to all GAA club members. Check out renault.ie/GAA to find out more.
With Renault, official car partner of the GAA, taking the passion of a nation to a whole new gear.
A grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on,
Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.
Hi lads, morning to y'all. Nearly good afternoon now with me delaying you, sorry.
All right, Dalo.
It's all right, the clock is running, Dalo, since 10:30.
Yeah, I know.
It's now after 11 o'clock, like, and the clock is still. It's like getting into the taxi, do you know what I mean? And you're waiting for your man in the chipper. Come on, will you whore, the taxi thing is running.
the meter is still running. Oh, Jesus. West Clare Wi-Fi. Anyway, we're here. We're back at the house today, so running up and down, carrying laptops and microphones here and everything. But we're in. How are you? Delighted to be joined by a man with a big display of jerseys there behind him, TJ.
I see him.
The Empire, is it striking back?
I'd be a little bit fearful. It's a good weekend to be looking forward to. Provincial finals, 2 nice matches cooking, and a really tasty qualifier, Dalo, that we will get to, I'm sure, at some stage. Little rumours going around the place that there could be peace on the cards. I'm not sure, Dalo, if they have reached your house, no?
Peace?
Yeah, I heard little rumours. I know Liam Griffin has touched on it, and 1 or 2 others have maybe said that we could be even looking at maybe a possible shake hands here, maybe.
No, I heard Liam Griffin on about funeral processions and stuff like that.
Is there peace on the way?
I didn't hear anyway, TJ, if there was. So. They probably wouldn't tell me anyway, you know what I mean? But
yeah. But either way, a mighty weekend coming up there.
Mighty weekend, Jan. Tis amazing in some ways. No, it's not the case, obviously, but there's nearly as much talk about a first-round qualifier as the Leinster and Munster Finals. So it's amazing what a bit of tour can do, isn't it? But look...
I suppose, Dalo, once the 2 teams went into the pot, Dalo, it was nearly almost a certainty that Wexford and Clare were going to draw each other. Like, you know, I think we mentioned probably...
Yeah, the draw. We weren't even too sure about the draw last week, I don't think. It's fair injustice for both Clare and Wexford, like that Cork and Galway and Waterford would say now Waterford should beat Laois, get the soft draw, and the 2 that won their Munster and Leinster quarterfinals played in 2 epic games against Kilkenny and Tipp, and then they have to face into it again. Like it makes it a fair long road if you've notions of appearing in Croke Park in August, isn't it?
It does, yeah. And I suppose, like, to be fair, I was talking to a couple of lads around Cork. They would have preferred that they would have been that they would have got a game in actual fact, because I suppose they feel as though they'd need to get a game under their belt, because maybe there might be bigger fish to fry down the road. I think where Cork are at the moment, there's no easy game now at the moment. I suppose a lot of people would point to Laois and say that possibly would be the handier draw to get and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, you make a valid point, you know. But look, I suppose the GA has to put some structure on it, Anthony, and there were the 2 teams that were in the quarterfinals. I don't think there was, like, yes, just to look at the draw, like there was.
Well, yeah, but I would
have won the 2 first rounds. Like.
Yeah, let's reward the 2 teams that won quarterfinals. So they were Wexford and Clare, and put them into the Cork and Galway positions. Oh, that mightn't work out great for you long term. You'll be playing a Galway or a Cork or a Wexford or a Waterford with a game under their belt. But I just would look at it's done and dusted now. We know since Monday morning at 8:30. I suppose we'd all the radios tuned in. So as you said, there was an air of inevitability about it in some ways, I suppose, with all the controversy all year. We talk about it a little bit later. And we'll have a quick look back first. Delighted, Shane, for joining us there this morning. Fair play to you. Shane, is that Brendan Cummins' jersey there as well? As long as that's one of your own, I take it.
I tell you, I'm home here today. The mother's minding the smallies downstairs. The young lad is after burying a John Deere tractor into his sister's head there a while ago, I think. But like all our mothers, whether they're here or not, widows or not. But my mother's a great woman. She kept all the jerseys, in fairness to her. So I have the first Munster Final we won 2008 against Dalo for a bit of luck put up there, and I did a swap with Cummins one day as well because, in fairness, he's one of the greats, and to have one of his jerseys is a nice one. He has one of mine as well. Whether it fits him anymore, I don't know. But I said we'd throw him up in the background. I couldn't get Simple Stadium like TJ has the Gaelic ground, so I said I'll get the next best thing, and they're actually covering a signed Ryan Giggs jersey, which I won when I was a young lad as well. So we have it all here, lads. Have it all.
Yeah, it's all Arsenal stuff. No, let's guess. The jerseys has been guessed since the pub reopened. Young lads now they mightn't be from Tipp at all, or they mightn't be from Kerry. There could be local lads. Like I wouldn't know a lot of them. Obviously out of the game for a long time, but a few Tipp jerseys, and I suppose especially the jersey from last year, the white and green one, to commemorate Bloody Sunday, that has appeared a few times, and I just gone over and said, "You served here," with a big serious face on me, and the young lad was going, "Oh. Well, you won't be with that joke on you again." You're laughing like all is okay again. You had me there for a minute, Dalo. Oh, it's been a good laugh, yeah. As well as doing that to Cork and Limerick ones as well, obviously. But yeah, Shane, we did a bit of talk, and I suppose tough one to take for Antrim with all the progress they've made under Darren all year. Always a real banana skin. Even you'd nearly have half suspected that was likely to happen once it came down to it. So much momentum in the Dublin game, whereas nearly you felt Laois were getting ready for this match all year in some ways, and of course with Cheddar as well, they delivered on the day.
Yeah, that's it. I suppose. Look, I was lucky to be at Dalo. Myself and Tarek were on duty, and it's one of those ones going up, and it's knockout hurling, and it's Laois and Antrim. They're fairly well matched. That it was going to be exciting anyway. If nothing else, and by Jesus, it was a great match to call now. And jeez, I don't think I'll ever tip Antrim to win a match again. Jesus Christ, they've lost the last two matches now. And I was saying to one of the boys here, the only good call I made in the last couple of weeks, I rang the mother after I got the vaccine to say I wasn't too bad after it, and she was happy enough with that. That's about the only good call I've made now. But
you could have knocked a couple of days out of that.
I could have had. No, but no, like I just thought, just talking to the boys in beforehand there, Dalo, just thought the Laois boys, they just went out and they hurled, and I suppose we've all been involved or are involved with teams, and you have tactics and you have boards and everything, but I think it was just a matter of they really, really wanted to make a game. I think it was 500 days or something since they won a championship match, Dalo. I could be wrong now with that, since they last won a championship game, and they went away from what they did against Wexford. There was no sign of a sweeper or a second sweeper, for a majority of the game, and I think a testament to them, to their work rate and their hunger and everything on the day was, I was saying to the boys as well, down to 13 men there at one stage in the second half, and I think Laois actually outscored Antrim 3 points to 1 or 3 points to 2 in that period, and it just showed the desire they had. They had to play with 3 forwards for that time because they had two. Ross King was gone off. They had Sean Downey was in the sin bin at the time for the penalty, and so they had to drop a guy back to midfield, and then they try and curtail it as well. Now Antrim had the wind. They had 2 extra players, 6 goal chances in the second half, but the Laois boys just stood up, and it was because all their big players had massive games from, and even Podge Delaney started the match instead of Picky Maher. He had a massive game from. He chipped in with 3 points from play from wing back. Jack Kelly was brilliant midfield, 3 points. Paddy Purcell, we've seen Paddy Purcell, like what he got, 2-2. Chad Wire, Willie Dunphy, Ross King, silly second yellow. He was very disappointed with himself getting sent off, and PJ Scully was brilliant, scored 2 sidelines. He scored 7 frees, points from play. And I think that was the difference, Dalo, like that all their big players had massive games. Now, they were absolutely flat after it, and I'd say they've done nothing, only been in ice baths or been in rivers for the week since, and it's hard going on and now to go again down to Nolan Park against Waterford, but the Antrim boys will be killing them. I went out to Darren just for a second. I know no one really wants to talk, when you after a loss like that. He was devastated, and I just feel when he looks back on the video again, he'll see they had so many goal chances, but Roland stood up, and even the penalty from McManus, I don't know, did you get to see it, lads? He hit it to the right side of Roland for him to save it. They went up the field, Dalo, and they got a point. It was massive. But yeah, fair play to the Laois boys. They'll be on a high, but it's a hard one. It's a hard one from now after going through that the other day and just seeing Mount Lads down cramped to try and get in. But look, I think it's a win-win for them. They've done what they really want to do in Stanley and McCarthy. So fair play to Cheddar and all of them for doing that. Like.
Yeah, like, and that's the way you'd look at it, Mark, as well. They had a lot of injuries all year, and you never felt they got a chance to get rolling. Maybe so when Antrim were at their best, maybe in April, and that kind of thing. You know, they had all their players beat Clare, Drew, Wexford, great account of themselves in Owen Park. Laois were nowhere near full strength, so possibly the timing just came right for them, and they get to stay in it.
It did, but like it came right in a short period of time, Anthony, which was a bit of a. Which was, I think there's a bit of, I won't say look is the wrong word, but I think Shane touched on it earlier on, like that the players seemed to take over the dressing room after the Wexford game because they were they were badly stung and they were embarrassed. They played nearly 13 or 14 players behind the ball and still conceded a monumental score to Wexford. So I think it was basically, there was a how between the management and the players that they were going to go 15-15. And if they were going to be beaten, they didn't want any tactics. They didn't want anything complicated. It was just a case of go and have a go off of it. And that's the way they played. And you know, the funny thing is that when players sometimes get a bit between their teeth, they seem to get an extra energy out of nowhere. And it's something that you'd always love out of the good teams, and my own county in particular as well, like that they give it their all, that they die in their boots for you. And that's what Laois, I thought, brought to the game, Anthony. And I'm a bit disappointed about Antrim because Antrim's form was excellent in the league. They got 5 points. Laois scored no point in the league. And Laois are still in the Liam McCarthy. Now, am I right in saying, are Antrim gone out of the Liam McCarthy for next year, are they?
Yeah.
But they can compete in the National League. They can't in the Division 1. Yeah. Like that's a fair kick in the pants for a team that got 5 points in the league. Like.
Yeah, but there's a good chance. Am I right in this, TJ? Maybe you might know that if they win the Joe McDonagh again, they'll get the shot. They come back into the All-Ireland preliminary quarterfinal or the quarterfinal proper, is it? Under the old round robin system, like
under the old round robin system, that's if
things go back to normal.
Things go back to normal, so which you'd be kind of hopeful they would at this stage.
Yeah. So look, mightn't be all doom and gloom for the Antrim lads, and they will have the experience of playing. I think you're going to come up the levels. You have to play that Division 1 hurling, like, and even if you take the beatings and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's it. Good bit of underage action as well, lads. I suppose it'd be remiss of me not to mention my own county's 40-point hiding last night at the hands of the Rebels. Special Cork team, I believe, Mark. You know, obviously, the team's not right with that their team, and some of the structures are underage. I mean, I think it might be a massive wake-up call, too late maybe in some ways, but I mean, it has to begin somewhere for Clare. And putting proper leadership and guidance down at that level. There's been good work going on. I know that because I know a few lads involved, but it's very much without a structure. You know, various the 15s, the you know, whatever, the 16s, the 17s, kind of all working away themselves, and there has to be joined up thinking, and that is the only hope. That's from my experience in Limerick. Now I wouldn't be familiar with the Cork setup, but obviously this Cork team, I think 2 years ago, won the 15A and 15B. I think, and maybe 16 last year, did they?
16 and 16. They won the under 14, they won the under 15, and then they split the panels, A and B, and the under 16. They won both competitions. But look, we've heard that for the last decade about good teams coming through, and you know that you were involved in the team that played against Shane Kingston's team. Now I know, like, they'd beaten Limerick in the first round, and then got beaten in the semi-final. But I think Shane broke his leg in between. He was a big loss. I was involved in the team that went down the line, went down the stretch with the great Limerick team, I suppose. They went to the All-Ireland final with the Keane Lynch, Ronan Lynch, Tom Morrissey, Shamie Flanagan, Sean Flynn, Colin Ryan, Andrew Lacush, Cosgrove. That was just an unbelievable. Like, we went toe-to-toe with them in the Gaelic grounds. We lost Shane O'Brien to concussion after 5 minutes. Darren Casey broke his ankle after 20 minutes, and we missed the penalty midway through the second half. We're up 2 points. So, we've had lots of good teams, and I would also say our minor footballers for the last Kerry won 5 minor All-Irelands, and the subtotal of the defeated margin over the 5 games was 7 points for Cork minors. And I think on 3 occasions they were beaten by a point, and 2 occasions they were beaten by 2 points. So we've never come out on the right side of any of those results. But I'd say this is a good minor team, but like it all goes down to the Limerick game the next day, because that's what opens up the championship. And I think they are probably the two best teams around. Seemingly, that's the situation. But look, you know as well as I do with young fellas, like Kilkenny and Galway will come. Like Galway have won 4 All-Irelands in a row, lads, at minor level. Like that's just phenomenal. So, and Kilkenny 7 points down in that match, and to come back and nearly draw the game at the end, just incredible. So look, it's a great win, Dalo, but look, major concern that there's such a gap between Cork and Clare at minor level last night. So I suppose, look, there's a lot of good men in Clare that will be looking in and saying, like, we've got to, like, it's a game like that sometimes puts the shots across the county to say, listen, we need to pull the finger out here and do something.
Yeah, just going by social media last night, there was just, and I had more technical difficulties last night trying to pay my bloody $5 to get the thing, to get my password even. I couldn't, I paid 25 quid for this GA Go crack, but that wasn't on that. So I was looking for a password and I couldn't get it. And then the next thing it was on anyway, and I switched on Clare FM and it was 6-0 to Cork. And I said, do you know what, I might hold on to my old $5. But I had Tommy Guilfoyle and I had Sil O'Connor, the Clare FM commentary team, and I've never heard Tommy as probably straight out after the game. Like he said, there's 2 prominent Clare GA officials sitting down below me here, he said, and I hope they're looking at this and feeling the pain, I think, and possibly a bit of shame as well that they've kind of overseen that how we could get to that level. But yeah, I wouldn't be familiar enough. Maybe that's my own shame,
But Dalo, picking up on that, like, I don't think they'll have any shame at all, right? And I tell you why. Because they'll go back into the bunker today and they'll say, that was an exceptional Cork team. And sure, look, we knew that this Clare team wasn't great since under 14. And they'll pass it over like water under a bridge. And it's up to you and the likes of the delegates now to step up. You have a lot of shenanigans going on in your county and you know where they lie. And you'll have to step up to the plate, your delegates, as far as I'm concerned, Dalo. There's a new swath of grass required inside in your county.
There is. There's no doubt about that. And on this show and in my articles, I've called for time to go for some people in Clare, unfortunately. And we need fresh blood, fresh thinking, and we need a good structured. You can call it whatever you like. Limerick called it an academy. I don't know if anyone else, you can call it whatever you like, but you need a good, like, look at Galway. How many All-Irelands is that in a row? Is it 4 in a row now?
4 in a row.
Finals.
And who's to say they won't have a fair rattle at it again, as you said, Mark, And Shane, you would have been involved closely with Tipp the last few years. The structures are strong, like.
Yeah, they're good, they're good underage and good lads over the teams. And, I think what Tipp have done well now in the last few years is bring in kind of a lot of former players even, that maybe a lot of the lads would know hurling from Tipp, they would have been maybe 12 or 13 or 14 and some of the lads would still have been hurling with Tipp and they're coming in and you kind of have that respect thing there straight away from them. And then you're bringing in guys like who maybe hadn't hurled for Tipp but are very, very well-renowned coaches. I mean, even the setup this year now for Tipp is James Woodlock is the manager, and a lot of them lads would have seen James Woodlock and know the passion he brings to it. Conor O'Brien, former Tipp hurler, former All-Ireland winner, fierce, passionate guy. My own brother Cormac, he never played for Tipp Retton, but he was involved with Mary I there. They won a couple of Fitzgibbons, and another guy, Damien Ryan from Portroe. So they've a really good setup, and you know what? They're all young, they're all young lads. They can maybe relate better to the younger lads. Maybe with all due respect to lads, maybe who are in their maybe in the 50s or 60s, maybe they find it hard to relate to maybe a 16 or 17-year-old, which is what we're dealing with now. We're dealing with kids, and the boys can relate to them better and maybe understand. And maybe I even found myself with the minors last year, they might be more forthcoming with problems they have off the field as well. But Tipp, while the structures are good, I suppose, and all that, I suppose we'd like to push on and get a win. We played a very good Limerick minor team last year. We thought they were brilliant and went extra time in the Gaelic grounds in December there, and then we seen what Galway did to Limerick, especially in the last quarter, and you're like, geez, lads, even talking to lads I was involved with, going, how far off it are we? We can't beat Limerick, and Limerick are conceding 3-7 in a quarter against this team. So maybe you just have to swallow your pride sometimes, Dalo, and maybe regardless of how strong a traditional county you are, maybe you have to look elsewhere to see, right, who's winning at the moment? Who's the best group at the moment? Well, like for me in Munster at minor level, it is probably Limerick. Like they're one of the stronger teams, and Cork will always have good hurlers, Mark, as you know, at that level. But Limerick for me are doing things right. So you need to kind of say, let's take a leaf out of their book and then look at what Galway are doing. Whatever Galway are doing, is it just because they have phenomenal talent? It can't always be that, lads, in my opinion. They have to have good structures up there. And as you said, call it what you want, Dalo, good academies, good lads involved with the teams. See Fergal Healy involved there the last few years as well. Good lads, good heads on their shoulders. And obviously, look, if you don't have the raw talent, whatever. But I mean, you need a good structure there and try and get lads to push on. Like Tipp had a good win last night against Kerry, but I suppose Kerry, talking to people about it, I think a few of the lads chose the football this year that were underage still for the hurling from last year. We would have played them last year and they were good. But look, the Tipp lads will be delighted with the win and they'll push on now. But look, I tweeted last night, Dale, I suppose, look, as a hurling person, you just don't want to see a group of young lads get bet by 40 points because, I mean, it'll make them think then the next time if they want to pull on the Clare jersey over their head, whether it's with a football or a hurling team, and you just don't want to see that for any young group of guys.
Yeah, and especially now to add to it, lads, we're dealing with under 17s. Real children, really, we all remember being minors, but we were 18 and probably chancing a pint, and we knew a bit more about the world, I think, and that's what I'd be hoping that's you're right. That what you said, Shane, is they're not scared, and that I'll just go back to, I headed up that Limerick Academy for Joe McKenna, who was the real head of it, and again, great to hear that Joe's on the mend, and the three strength and conditioning men I dealt with as the current one, Dara Droog, would have led in the Piercy All-Ireland club and has been involved in Nina, and top man was the minor strength and conditioning coach this year. Before him, I dealt with Mikey Kiley, who's now Limerick strength and conditioning coach. And before him, the other man I dealt with in year one was Carber Carlan, who is now the Tipperary strength and conditioning senior coach. So, there are standards, and I suppose, look, what I've seen in Clare, and I leave it this because I don't want to make it too much about Clare, but it is a funny morning. There is goodwill towards Clare hurling. There is money out there. Club Clare have shown that in a few short months since March, what they could raise with just voluntary contributions. Okay, you got your membership badge, you got a little gear pack, and a golf classic. And there is money out there, but people are not willing to give it to our current county board, unfortunately. So we need change, and I'll leave it at that. And hopefully, people are listening to clubs.
But Dalo, from the outside, you would think in Clare, right, that a very simple and straightforward start would be for someone to talk to you who has experienced something in the county that has worked and say, lad, what are they doing that we could do? What would suit Clare? Not that what's happening in one county would suit another county, but at least it'd be a good starting point. To be fair, we did something there with Kildare. I was up there on Stapleton. Kildare's effort, and that was rewarded last week, is what they're doing, right? They're pushing the boat out, right? There's clubs, I'm involved in Board and guys plan myself, as I've said lots of times before, right? But we have some form of a plan. We're struggling for numbers at times, but you're trying to make sure that you're putting a structure in place that will carry you to have a senior team down the road, right? It is critically important, right? St. Flannan situation, they won the RT Cup, so there's obviously players there, right? So, what are all the clubs doing? There's obviously good players there, what Clare senior team are producing. So there's definitely a missing link. There's no doubt about that. And rather than beating this to death and saying we should be doing this, it is vital for counties. They're let's be fair about it. They're not seen as traditional counties, let's say Limerick and Clare, right? That we have to be planning to say, right, we have to make sure that we're at least competitive with these. You don't have to measure winning Munster Ireland titles, but you've got to get yourself to semi-finals or finals and at least measure up to these guys. And that should be well within the capabilities of our type of counties. And that's disappointing. It's disappointing for everyone that's working at Clare. I know some of the people there. I know Sean Dyle was involved with us before, doing great work and underage. And as I said, if you look at what's going on in Galway, what's going on in Cork underage now, get left behind very quickly. And nobody likes to see what happened last night. The one thing I will say is, and I know this was briefly touched on during the week, the final between Galway and Kilkenny on Saturday, which was last year's final, which actually meant that the guys were under 18s or minors, right? I probably would be one of the ones in favour of bringing it back to under 18. It definitely is a better game. It's more physical. It just is a better game to watch. And there's nothing to kind of say against the under 17s. It's just better. They're like nearly better prepared for it. I have been involved in under 12, 13, 14, 15, 17 teams myself in the past. And there are days when it goes against you, the heads go down, and then you get a result like what happened last night. That can happen, unfortunately, in underage hurling.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And I agree with you with the 18, and I think majority of students now, I can only go by what's local here now, would be doing transition year, and they're kind of their minor year is nearly coinciding with their transition year, which is fantastic. Like,
and a lot of the leaving stuffs now, Anthony, are 19 years of age. They've gone over the 18 year, and that was a big concern that parents had, that their kid was training 3 nights a week with the Cork minors or whatever minor team they were involved with, and it was taken away from their studies. But I think the GA missed the trick. That for the last 10 years, the age limit has moved out to leaving cert to 19 years of age. The change has come a decade too late, and it needs to be reverted back up to under 18, I would suggest,
Okay, obviously got some tremendous games as well. I mean, Tipp and Waterford Monday night was a treat for anybody. It was just brilliant stuff. And we're going to get loads more of those in the next few weeks. And the more we can watch, the better as well, which is fantastic. And the more people that'll begin to get in to those games. I suppose, lads, we look ahead and we start.
Looking ahead?
Well, what are you to say now?
Did you not forget what happened on Saturday night?
No, we're a week on now. I only want the current week.
The famine is over, Dalo.
Yeah,
did you not know, good win. Yeah, I know. And I tell you, the brother has 40 acres of hay now. He flapped it on Monday, right? We'll be stoking it there now on Saturday if we're doing nothing. But make yourself available now. We've an All Ireland in the bag, and the hay will be fairly saved this weekend. So just to give a shout out to the under-20s and Pat Ryan and his management committee for the fantastic win. But I will say this: if Cork didn't get the start that they got, the result could have went another way. I was very impressed with. I was impressed with both teams on the night. And you know what? It was a pleasure to sit down and watch two teams going at it hammers and tongs with a whole pile of tactics and a whole pile of hand passing going on and shot flicking. It was really enjoyable stuff to see two hurling teams, I would say, without the malaise of tactics that is going on at the senior level at the moment. And I was sitting beside a couple of Dublin fellas, and they were delighted with the lads, disappointed with how the result went, and disappointed how, I suppose, they were 1-4 to no score down early in the game, but thrilled how they stayed in the game. And I think Cork got I won't say a fortuitous goal, but Brian Roach carried the ball a fair bit and offloaded it to Paddy Power, got a goal. It could have been a free out, I suppose, is the point. And it was a crucial score that probably set Cork on his way to win it. So, John, just that. Yeah, but a lot of the work that has gone on at underage, it's great to see it,
Yeah, and I will say this as well, and I'd be having a wish for Dublin there and that with Paul O'Brien doing great work, and I'd say their minors are fairly good as well this year. So it was nice to see, some of the names that I've seen who have met heartbreak coming up along the Roaches and the Connerys and the Barretts and, getting their All-Ireland medals. Yeah, Connolly. And he wouldn't have featured as much as a lot of those fellas now up along in the minors.
No.
Yeah, but like, they have had a lot of heartbreak on the big day, haven't they, those lads?
Connery has lost 3 All-Ireland medals, like he's lost the minor and 2 under-20s, 21 in the 20s, so it was great, and he played very well. He got 2 or 3 points from half back. But there's a really...
Great picture of him in the Examiner at the final whistle, and just pure emotion, like, that, when you lose a good bit. And beyond about winning and losing, lads, at underage, that bit of losing doesn't do any harm either, creating a bit of hunger. Like, often you say that about Limerick, and they didn't win. They didn't really win many minors, but if you're bringing forward quality guys, that's what it's more about, from my point of view, and you're creating that. They're looking at other counties winning. I hear what Shane said earlier, and I'll win every so often, it's no harm, just to keep it in the psyche, but just think sometimes we can overthink the winning thing, and when the wins do come, then, and hopefully they're at senior level, we appreciate them all the more. But no, nice. Well done, Mark. I wasn't going to let the day go without saying that. But I wanted to let you stew there for a small bit. All right. I'm going to handle it over to you handy, like.
Oh, you made me fight for it, all right, fair play.
Lads, we go backwards on the weekend. We'll start at the finish, which is the Sunday game, obviously, which is the Munster Hurling Final, which is a fantastic day, obviously, steeped in tradition. How many thousand? 18,000 allowed, is it?
No, I think only 6 or 7, I think.
Sorry, it's 18 at the Leinster.
18 for Leinster, yeah. I think it's 8,000.
TJ, you're sorted again for the couple of tickets, yeah?
I did. I'm getting well looked after at the moment. I can't complain. So I will be down in Cork, and the forecast is good. Looking forward to it. Traffic won't be too bad. I was down in Cork there last week, and there's a lot of work going on. It's done Kittle Market's a little bit slow, but I'm sure you'll be able to handle 6,000 or 7,000 people easy enough. Looking forward to it. I'm saying to Shane there, there'd be a little bit of concern. I think that there's plenty of scores in this tip forward line. I'm delighted to be going because I can see what is Tommy and Liam going to come up with this time. I think they probably have two choices, Dalo, here, and I was saying this to Shane beforehand. Is Tip's approach going to be system, as in are they going to come up with a system at the back where they're going to try and defend collectively as a unit and kind of maybe mark the space? Or are they going to do a little bit of a Cork here, right, where they go, right, Carl Barrett, you have Peter Casey. I was saying to Shane, the 6 ideally, Carl Barrett picks up Peter Casey, Paddy Maher possibly picks up Shane Flanagan, maybe Barry Heffernan could follow Hego around the pitch, Ronan Maher maybe on a Galan, Seamus Kennedy, let's say, follow Tom Morrissey everywhere. And then I'm sure that if it was in their head that Liam would have rang Brendan Maher maybe some time ago and said, Brendan, I have a babysitting job coming up for you here, Keno for the Munster Final, and you can go everywhere with him, inside, outside, midfield. Like, that's going to be the intriguing piece for me. Every team has their style and their system. Tipp have tweaked it for opposition here and there. So for me, that's the first piece of the jigsaw that I'm going to be intrigued with. What do you think?
I think you could be right. You'd have to look at the successes that Cork had. You'd also have to look at the failures they had and still how Limerick finished and all that. And you might be right. I'd just be worried now in what you said there. I would say if I'm a Tipp supporter out there now, the way, don't get me wrong now, one of the hurlers I've admired the most in the last 20 years is Boris's Brendan Maher. He's been some man, and the year they went on the run to the club final, God, I marvelled at him altogether that year. But just thought against Clare, he looked leggy, off the pace a little bit, and Cian Lynch might be a big ask. No, of course, come at the hour, come at the men maybe, and especially coming off a bad game anyway. And it wasn't bad maybe, but a bit off his norm. A lot of the great players then are able to up it because they don't want to be ever having 2 bad games. And so maybe there's a good bit in your thinking. Would you think up front your own backs like on their forwards? And obviously we'll get Shane's take on it as well, and myself and Mark would. What about worries there? What about, just you'll stick, will you? I tell you, interesting one there. I'm just on an old WhatsApp page, and there's actually a bookie on it. He's a professional book. He works for a big bookmaking chain, and he says, "Ginny lads, any news on team selections? I see Limerick are slightly drifting here for Sunday." I didn't hear anything anyway, Rob. I said to him, but maybe it's just the nature of things, the way they go the week of the match. But the other end, you wouldn't be worried. Like Cork still created goal chances. There was goal chances right through the league against G. Overall, like, would you be as confident as you would maybe this time last year? No, this time last year, obviously we were locked down, but there was something about them. As soon as we saw them, there was a ruthlessness. I didn't really see that against Cork, I thought. Maybe it was just Dirty Diesel. Overall, possibly. What's your take?
Yeah,
I would say that up front, I think we're going to see one change. I actually think Dan Morrissey will start. Dalo, I think that he will be picking up Shamey Canlan. And I thought Shamey was excellent the last day now, right? So that will probably give him a 50-50 call between Richie English and Barry Nash. And whoever loses out is going to be a little bit unlucky there. That looks like and feels like what's going to happen. Of course, I'd be concerned. And I said at the top, I'd be slightly fearful. There's goals in that tip forward line. I thought Shamey was excellent in his game and his management and bringing fellas into the game the last day. I thought that was a little bit of a different role than we've seen before. Jason Ford's going well. I was impressed enough with Jake Morris. I suppose the big one for like Bubbles was definitely good the last day. And maybe Shane might just touch on this. I think the big one for Tipp in the Munster Final here would be the form of the McGraths. Now, a little bit just like what you said about Brendan Maher, how can somebody like me question the form of somebody like a Noel McGrath or a John McGrath or whatever, right, in everything that they've done, and they've just been so majestic. But just haven't been hitting the heights that they have done before. I think Tipp will need big games from the two of them. That's, of course, if they start. And I'm just wondering, is there anything Shane might be able to just throw on here on the Barbie, that is there something here that's going to come at us that maybe we touched on in the league or saw something, or is there a player that he could see playing in the Munster Final that could be a little bit different? But I would be a little bit fearful. I think there's goals in that Tipp forward line. They went for goals. They made a difference against Clare. And yeah, the battles are going to be intriguing. I don't want to see Limerick's style and the way Kinnerk is set up defensively. I don't want to see that changing. So Sheedy and Tommy Dunn have plenty of experience of playing against it now. So again, the setup, everything that's coming at us will be intriguing to see early doors here.
Shane.
Yeah, look, Tipp going very bad, lads. We'll be lucky to have look.
We'll be back to your own house. Go out to your mother's house. That's the old tactics.
We'll be lucky to have a bus to get us down to Cork, right? That's how bad things are going at the moment. No, look, listen, I think you're spot on, lads. I go on the Brendan thing, just touch on it. For me, it wouldn't be Keane Lynch, TJ, just for the reasons like Dalo said there. I just don't know. Brendan, he's given so much, he's done so much, coming back from the injury. You know, a couple of years ago, he did a massive man-marking job in the run-up to the All-Ireland. You know, even on Tony down in Ennis today, up in Croke Park as well. It's 2 years, like, you know, it's been 2 years since, and time moves on for everyone. I just don't think he might have it in the engine to do a job in Keane Lynch. Now he's proven us all wrong so many times he could do it. For me, he would be more suited to a Gillane type player, and I thought he did a really good job in Gillane 2 years ago in the Munster Final inside the Gaelic grounds. You know, what's the matchups going to be? I think, you know, Cahill Barrett could maybe, as you said, TJ, earlier, maybe pick Peter Casey, because I suppose Limerick might want to target Paddy as trying to pull him around the place, like David Reedy and Ian Galvin did for a while there in the game. Hard to know, like, who's the man for Hago. It's hard to know. I suppose you said maybe Barry Heffernan, because, you know, he would play out the field for his club, Nina, and wouldn't be too much in bother if he did end up at the opposite 65 or inside the opposite 65, would be comfortable on the ball, and we've seen him pop over a few points as well. So I think the matchups are intriguing. To touch on the McGrath's thing, I think Noel McGrath is probably he will go down as one of the greats of Tipperary hurling and hurling in general. His wrist work, what he did personally to come back from, you know, the cancer scare he had and everything, and just an all-round top guy. I think now for me, Noel McGrath is, you know, like in the rugby, lads, when you get to a certain stage and you take off the front row. For me, that's Noel McGrath now in hurling terms, in regards 50-55 minutes, and you get fresh legs in and you finish the game. Now, why would you start Noel McGrath rather than bring him on? I think Noel McGrath is always better starting. When the thing is a bit tight, his hurling gets him out of positions. That when the thing opens up a bit more, that's where he might be caught a bit more with pace or with legs and things like that. So I would always say start the Noel McGraths of this world because of his hurling. And, you know, and if it's a thing after 50-55 minutes, he's gassed, you know, which he seemed to be even the last day against Clare, but would have got on a lot of ball. You know, then Noel comes out and you have maybe an Alan Flynn or Willie Connors to come in. It's just not happening for John at the moment. His confidence is probably down around his boots at the moment. He works so hard. He did work really hard the last day, but I suppose John McGrath's job for Tipp probably isn't to work really hard. John McGrath's job for Tipp to make a big difference is probably getting 3 or 4 points or maybe nipping in with a goal every now and again. So it's hard to know if John will start even. It's hard to know with that, like, you know. I thought Shamey worked savage hard the last day. And I do think Dan Morrissey will start as well. I think they'll have a fair battle between the two of them. Physically, two massive players. And, you know, what Shamey did, you know, he scored 1-1. The goal is very fortuitous. Went to the wrong side for Eibhear Quilligan. But, you know, worked very, very hard. And, you know, a big day for Jake Morris now. You know, I think nominated Young Hurler of the Year last year, 3 points the last day, worked hard, got on a lot of balls. So big day for him because he probably is going to end up marking the best cornerback in the business at the moment. And Barrett mightn't like me saying that. He's very close to it, all right. But Sean Finn is the real deal. He's number one. And anyone, I would I would fight with anyone to say that he's not. And if Jake Morris can break even with a Sean Finn, TJ, I think it goes a long, long way for Tipperary. But interesting matchups all over the field. You know, the fact we could be here all day talking about it, I know, but I was just looking at there. Played 73 times, Tip 137, Limerick 26. We drew 10. I was involved in 2 of those draws in 2007. Babs was over us, and Jays, I got a shoulder off Brian Geary and I tell you, I nearly had to go into an oxygen tent after in the old dressing rooms aside in the Gaelic grounds. Jays, I wasn't well for a couple of weeks, and Bangers was following me around. Mike Bryan from Glenrue. By Jays, I knew all about it after. I tell you, it was some learning experience for me. I had bruises on top of bruises, but like, I was talking to someone during the week, lads, about Limerick, and I'll let you all jump in then. But I think the greatest compliment, this fella's a really good hurling fella, and he just sent me a message and he said, the greatest compliment you give this Limerick team is when they have the ball, there's 15 players to call on. And when they don't have the ball, there's 15 players to call on. And he said, that's the greatest compliment you can pay any team. Every Limerick player is prepared to work. And when the team don't have the ball in possession, then every Limerick player has the moral courage to take the responsibility and use the ball correctly. And I know that's a long one there, but I think that's the greatest compliment you can give this Limerick bunch at the moment. 15 lads on the field want the ball when they don't have it, and 15 lads are calm on the ball when you do have it. And the other thing for me, TJ, and the rest of you lads, is when John Kiley looks over his shoulder, he has 5 or 6 guys he can really, really trust who have done it on the big day. And all due respect to all the Tip lads at the moment, we just don't have that, because whether the lads haven't got on the chance to do it or not, we just don't have the same bench. We don't have the same impact. If it comes down to 20, 21 players, you know, it's very hard to see it. And like, I don't think there's ever been less expectation in Tip lads for a Munster final as this year. And I know you mightn't believe me, but that's the way it is. A lot of people are saying, let's just go down and get a performance, because we haven't bet you in the big game, TJ, since 2016 Munster semi-final. You're a shadow of a team. You were a shadow of a team compared to what you are now in 2016 in the semi-final in Munster. Yeah. And that's it for me. We just hope we perform, but hopefully we get the matchup.
Doesn't matter as much, Shane, now we'll say. We are steeped, I suppose, in winning Munster finals if we could. Thought I'd never win one, but we were lucky enough, and I suppose that you just hit it at the right time, TJ. And, you know, winning Munster finals was just, you know, it was as big a day almost as the All-Ireland, like, nearly bigger in our eyes, because it wasn't All-Irelands we were losing, it was Munster finals constantly. Like in 19, let's say, we said it, I know the draw probably walked their way in Laois, causing a shock against Dublin, but like by the Monday morning when Liam Sheedy knew his path to possibly being there in All-Ireland final day, did the Munster final, you know, which normally we lose a Munster final, it takes us a week to come around in our heads. It doesn't matter as much at all now.
I think it does. I think that if you ask Liam Sheedy or Kyle today, will they want to get a Munster Championship and get a medal and put another trophy on the table? I think they would. I think for Sheedy and Tommy Dunn, I think they'd love to get one over on this Limerick team. I think it would mean an awful lot, and to get a Munster Championship win as well. Maybe there's something in what you're saying in the bigger picture that, like, maybe at the end of the year, people will just revert back and talk about the All-Ireland. We have short memories at the end of the day, but I'd say if you go to either dressing room this week now, Dalo, I would say this will mean a lot. They'll want to win it.
And the Mick Mackey
Cup. It's only Monday, I suppose you'll think about that, like.
Yeah, it's the Mick Mackey Cup now, lads. I suppose for a long, long time it had no name, and I mean, if you needed an extra 1%, and I know we're always on about the 1%ers. I mean, to be the first team to bring home the Mick Mackey Cup, like back to, you know, with the hand lads being involved there and everything, I think that's a big drive as well. But like, if I just go back quickly, lads, like for the last 2-3 big games, the games have between Tip and Limerick, lads, they've been played on Limerick's terms, and that's why I just feel there is a big performance in the Tip lads. And I feel with the hurt from last year, even the Munster Final 2019, and, you know, we're here on the border, lads, you know, and a lot of people down in Newport, they would support Limerick, and they would be saying to us every time since, if we had beaten Kilkenny, we would have hammered you in the All-Ireland final. And I was saying, right, with my uncle and my aunt and the balls statement before, you know, but like, I mean, you didn't. So, but that is there between Tip and Limerick too, to say, maybe you wouldn't have won in 19. So I think all this coming together, lads, that there is a big performance in the Tip boys. I really hope it's coming on Sunday. If by, you know, take a lot of luck as well, that you beat Limerick in a Munster final, I would put the house on Limerick winning the All-Ireland final, because Limerick will not lose twice this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's kind of the thread of what I've been saying as well. I don't think they'll be beat. I think it'll need to be semi-final or final to knock them out of it. And Mark, what's your take on it? It bubbled up nicely. It was a good Munster Championship and in for a great final, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose I felt last year that Tipp were really Tipp were in a good position coming in playing against Limerick last year, and from the get-go, I think Cian Lynch going centre forward and Alan Flynn, who was picked midfield to mark him, that upset Tipperary's balance last year, and they never recovered from it from the whole game. And Limerick were well on top down, and remember there's ferocious rain.
That was the Kyle Hayes move as well before the match day.
That's right. So I thought Tipp didn't handle that great last year, and I suppose Liam Sheedy has had 12 months to think about that. And I am expecting a big performance from Tipp on Sunday, and we're going to get a glorious day because the weather is massive and the pitch is absolutely fantastic in Cork. For me, Tipp have the forwards to trouble any team, because they have, I suppose, barring Dan McCormack, I suppose, the 5 other forwards that they have are all scoring forwards. Every one of them with the ball in their hand won't give away, opportunities. They will score, every one of them. And I think it could be a very, very high scoring game on Sunday as well. Now, just coming back on the matchups, I think Cathal Barrett will pick up Casey, and I think Padraig Maher will pick up Gillane, and I think Barry Heffernan will pick up Flanagan, and I think that'll be a good matchup for Paddy Maher and Gillane, because I think Gillane's not the quietest boy in the world, and Sean O'Donoghue had a great game on him the last day, but I think Paddy Maher wouldn't want a real speedster of a forward, so he wouldn't want a Pat Ryan or a Peter Casey marking him at any stage, I think. But I do believe Maher will pick up Gillane. Out in the half back line, I think Seamus Kennedy actually is going to be picking up Cian Lynch, and I think they'll leave Ronan Maher and Brendan Maher on the wings, to be honest, to pick up Tom Morrissey and Hegarty. And to me, you have to go with them. But I don't think Brendan, for the points that Shane has already made, would be suited to picking up Cian Lynch, to be honest with it. But I do think Seamus Kennedy could do that job for him. In the middle of the field, like Mikey Breen and Will O'Donoghue is going to be one of the matchups to me. Like, if Tipp will break even there, and Breen, to be fair to him, always pitches in with a couple of points in every match. I think that's a massive plus for Tipperary if they can get the better of Will O'Donoghue. And I think Noel McGrath will do fine in the middle of the field on Sunday. I think the conditions will suit Tipperary on Sunday now. Do I think Tipp will win?
Do you, Mark?
Hold
on a sec now. The conditions, and it's promised to be anything up to 27, 28 degrees, and there's a lot of talk that that Liam has stuck with the tried and trusted and the men who were good to him, and he was good to them, by God.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And will they suffer at 4:30 or 4 o'clock on Sunday in those conditions?
They might, yeah. But the only thing I will say is, when I look at Bubbles and I look at Noel McGrath, they are in super shape. I never saw Bubbles as fit looking as what I see now. And I think, and Seamus Canlan looked very sharp as well the last. And I know they're on the wrong side of 30 years of age, but I just think that there's one kick in Tipperary, and I think this could be Sheedy. I think this will be Sheedy's last year, in my own view. And you're right, and he's been very loyal to that panel of players. And I think it'll be the last kick for maybe 4 or 5 of the Tipperary players. And if they've anything in them, I think they'll deliver on Sunday. Now, saying all that, I think Limerick ran a drag with Cork. A lot of people in Cork are saying that it was a great opportunity for Cork to beat them. But I think at any stage, if Cork came close to Limerick, Limerick could up the tempo and go on another bit. I thought it was a perfect situation for Limerick. They won by 8 points, that's pulling up. And it never looked like Cork had the opportunity, no doubt about that. But I don't know. I don't think Limerick were overly extended against Cork, in my view. And I think they will improve for that game as well. I think this could be a really, really good game on Sunday now. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if Tipp won it. But I think Limerick will win it in the end, is my own view.
Mackie, just on one thing you said there, right, is I suppose when I looked at the defence, right, on your strategy there, like Ronan Maher and Brendan Maher at 5 and 7, right? can you see the two of them doing a tour of 12, 13 kilometres with Tom and Gerard Hegarty, or do you see them sitting and holding 5 and 7? I think if they
they'd have to. Well, I think they might do 12 or 13 kilometres with the two boys, but they certainly won't be doing 16 or 17 with Cian Lynch, like. Do you know?
Yeah.
So I think tis the lesser of both evils, and I think Brendan Maher's a better half back than a centre back as well. TJ, I think he's a quality half back.
It might be. The other thing Shane was going to throw to you is like puck out strategy for Tipp, right, in that half hour line. Like, is there a possibility we could see Mikey Breen at 10? Would you go and look at Kyle Hayes and say, Mikey, this is kind of hammer to hammer territory. Kyle is flying it. Could you tag it? Would that be mad?
No, I think you could definitely see Mikey Breen at 10 or 12, just for that kind of ferociousness in the half forward. Like, the Bonner is a massive loss. Like, Niall O'Mara hopefully might tag out the next day. He got his appendix out. He didn't tag out against Clare the last day, and he brings a savage work rate. So, but I think Mikey Breen brings that physicality that you actually could maybe go and put ball down on top of him. Whereas a lot of teams don't want to put ball on top of the year half back line, TJ, and rightly so, because you've 3-man mountains there. But I mean, if you can match one of the man mountains with another mountain, that can hurl, has speed, and might be able to hold him up. I mean, Kyle Hayes is just phenomenal. Like, his attacking ability as well. Case in point, his goal against Cork.
Shane,
Breen could match him, like, for athletic ability, is what I'm saying.
But it has to be Dan McCormack, surely, like, on him, like.
Yeah, but see, no, not.
But you've Dan McCormack, Mac, and Will O'Donoghue there already, sure. You can't have him everywhere, like.
No, I've Mikey Breen. I've Mikey Breen, Mac, and Mac and Will O'Donoghue. No. Mikey Breen for Will O'Donoghue and Dan McCormack at half forward, and Jason Ford has got to be on Diarmuid Burns, because I don't think Diarmuid Burns wants to be running around the place. And this is the point I made the last day. Cork got it wrong with Cahalan and Robbie Flynn. Like, they were playing the wrong wins. Like, I mean, Cahalan should have been marking Kyle Hayes because he has that physicality, he has that run ability to go with him. I think Jason Ford would be well suited to be marking Diarmuid Burns, and I think Jason Ford could pick up a lot of scores on Sunday off a breaking ball.
He could, yeah. Dan McCormack for me is midfield anyway, lads. For me, Dan McCormack out around the middle there, that middle third, he got on an amount of ball, clipped over 2 points there the last day as well. But like, I think you're right, Mark, with the Jason Ford, Diarmuid Burns. Diarmuid Burns likes to sit, maybe doesn't like to do a lot of running. Jason Ford would be similar. They could have a right good battle there as well. To go talk about the puck outs thing, lads. 2019, I was looking at it. We went long 29 times, won 5 of them. Like, you know what I mean? There has to be some physicality up there. Even against Clare, we went long 26 times, only won 12 of them. Yeah. So there has to be, sometimes you're going to have to go long, because Limerick are so good at that press, TJ, that, when if you were diddery on the ball in the first few minutes, it's that swarm, like, and you can hear the press call from all of them, press. Sometimes we are going to have to go long, and Barry Hogan, it's a massive game for him. Like, his second championship game. He's keeping out a former All-Star goalkeeper. Made a good debut against Clare, I thought, but sometimes you're going to have to go long. That's why I think you need a Mikey Breen type to just get it down on top of him. If he doesn't win it, the boys might be there for breaks.
That's why I'm agreeing.
And a straight challenge to your forwards, that when you do go along, can you not break the bloody ball? Do you don't have to be sticking up your hand with complete 10% chance of winning it on Diarmuid Burns and Kyle Hayes. Get up your hurley at the last second, get it to ground, and then have the players swarming in. I thought Clare got good joy against Tipp when they did that. Now, they were better working it through the lines, I will say, but when they did go along, when they actually just got it to ground, like, get it down on the deck and flick it into space and run. I think that's a lot of teams should be looking at that. There's an awful lot of hurlers in Ireland now sticking up their hand to Jesus hope the ball is going to come down it.
Yeah. I think what Shane just said there, I think I would say from the outside, looking to beat this Limerick team, I think you're going to have a fair degree of success in your own puck out, whether it's primary ball or whether it's secondary ball. I think the stats that Shane called out there are clearing. The boys will know that. So whether it's a mix of short, middle, long, but look, in the modern game, we all know that you absolutely need an out ball every now and again, and Mikey Breen might just be the answer to that. I think we'll see him at some period of time. And I was saying, if you were Sheedy Dalo today, would you say like as Tomas O'Shea said in the past about hammering the hammer, would you go down Kyle Hayes? Big challenge now, right? With Mikey Green. It's saying if you can break that mold there, win one or two, like could that set something like the wheels in motion?
Yeah, I thought like Ronan Maher sort of held his wing on the Clare puckouts now, right? So I'm just on about flooding the area and having more players in an area as well, right? Like Ronan held, so for every Quilligan looking up the field, you have to say puck it down where your man has gone across. No, it's crowded. It's not easy win it. But you have an extra body there because Ronan has held his wing. And if you watch it a lot, Kyle Hayes is inclined to do that. And if you go back to this match last year below under Rain in Cork, Kyle stayed in his wing.
Yeah.
You know, and now they have enough faith in the O'Donoghue, Dara Donovan, Hannon, Burns access there. But at the same time, if you can get a 5-on-4 over there and say to the boys, get the ball to ground, like last second, run in, touchdown with your hurley, and you have an extra body around there, you should be able to get success at some level. And they're going to have to, TJ, you're right. They're going to have to get some level of a foothold. It might only be bringing it up from whatever, 20% up to 31 or 2%, but if you can do that, you're giving yourself some bit of a chance. Call it, lads.
Could you see Dan McCormack and Mikey Breen both playing in the half forward line? Mark Andrews said, like Dermot Burns and Kyle Hayes, and go at him, physically go at him, the two of them. Could be some balls out of sheet if he did it.
It would be a big call because you're taking some work rate out of the middle of the field there if you have Mikey Breen and Dan McCormack and over it, like especially Dan McCormack.
You'll end up with 35 puck out Shane over the course of the game. And if you could break even with Kyle Hayes and Dermot Burns, and you have the sniper of forwards that Tipperary have, like if they get onto breaking ball, they will punish you. Like,
oh, they will, yeah. But it's like what Cork did, Mark. I suppose get the ball to a certain zone before you can deliver a quality ball in, because you need to beat that half back line. If you're putting it down on top of them, they're going to mop it up, and then they have the opportunity, heads up, two boys in front of them if they want them, or if not, space in front of Gillan and Flanagan inside. And that's what's hard for teams against Limerick, in my opinion.
That's the challenge for the boys. I say that's what they'll be looking at. Matt Keogh, could he play a part? Shane, maybe at a wing forward.
Yeah, he kind of hasn't featured. Wasn't called for action. Wasn't told to warm up or anything the other day. I suppose the guy they looked at was Dylan Quirk. Dylan came on, was very, very nervous on the ball. Didn't miss a couple of jab lifts. Took a shot when he shouldn't. Was kind of forced to think. So that's what I'm saying, TJ, with the heat and everything. We just don't have the same experience on the bench that Limerick do, and you probably are going to need 19, 20 bodies, lads, to get
you will, for sure.
On Sunday. And doesn't the heat kind of bounce up there off Páirc Uí Chaoimh as well? Like, some pitches it goes in, but it kind of has that artificial feel that the heat nearly bounces up off it up to you. Like, and
not anymore. Mark started it.
You'll be able to get strawberries and ice cream on the side, Shane, if you want them as well. Like,
You won't be 19 hours trying to get out of it or get from the marina to the city.
There's 7,000 people left go to that match at the weekend. 7,000.
That's the job.
I remember after he finally beaten us, Shane, in 2000. And we told this story on the pod before, but you might have heard it, but there was no way the bus was moving anyway, and the heat was something cruel. So I remember saying to Lohan, come on, we'll walk up, because the bit of grub was in the Imperial and of course a few pints, and about 4 more followed us anyway, so the 6 of us were strolling up along, and next thing this at a guess I would have said Holy Cross or somewhere. You could hardly see out any window with Tipperary flags and bunting. You think they'd be getting sick of being beaten by us at this stage now, but they weren't, obviously. But they let down the window anyway as they were passing, and they meant to stop. And this lad with a straw hat, the Tipperary straw hat with the heba wrapped around, and he says, and now they're making you walk home. we all got a fit of laughing. Bear Lohan, I think. Who wanted to drag him out the window. But I said, we'll give you that one, boss, now drive on. But, the rivalry was at its best, and you were due that one. But no, call it, lads. In a word, TJ.
Limerick for me.
Yeah, Limerick. I think Limerick. I think it'll be tight. I think we're talking about maybe 2, 3, 4 points. I'd be fearful enough. I think the scores in this Tipp forward line. I'm going to be intrigued by the setup of Tipp, their puck out structure. their positioning of a couple of key players. Just, are they going to do something similar to Cork? Like I said earlier on, is it going to be systematic? That's key for Tipp, and it has to work for them to keep them in the game.
Yeah.
For me, Dalo, I think Shane or John Kiley gave 4 forwards in Limerick a big wake-up call against Cork to come on off. I think there's a bounce-back factor for them. I thought Limerick played well within themselves against Cork. I think an improved performance from Limerick will get them over the line.
Shane?
Yeah, heart says Tipp, but my head would say Limerick. Like the Laois boys the other day, if you can get a massive game or your biggest players, you have a real chance. But at the moment, that's what the feeling is in Tipp. We have a chance. But look, I would say my head would say Limerick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 40-60, I suppose, Tipp. Like, it's 60-40 for Limerick, I would say. I wasn't that impressed with Limerick the last day. I thought it was just a general flatness in the performance, and I thought you felt there was another gear there, Mark. I thought Cork had a real chance at one stage, and they didn't really kick on and go for it. And I think if they don't up their performance big time now, your suggestions are very valid that he gave them a kick in the pants and they will play better. I think if they leave Tipp in that scenario around then, Tipp will kick for home.
Yeah, if just Tipp played Limerick the last day and got the opportunity, I think Tipp would probably beaten Limerick on that occasion.
Yeah, we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised we saw extra time, lads, here on the weekend. Just that feeling that this could be tighter than people think. I would lean Limerick
in the game, lads.
Pod.
Yeah. Okay. Not a scrutiny on refs, obviously, now with all that has been going on the past while.
Massive.
But he's normally calm. He likes to let it go, I think. So hopefully, look, a ref needs to be lucky as well, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
There's no situation where he has to make a massive call. And you can be lucky, and games can be still tremendous without the ref being scrutinised that badly at all. And I think, hopefully, for his sake, that's what we'll have. So look, massively looking forward to that. Sunday won't be there. I'll be up in the RT studio watching with Mr. Thurles, so we'll get a good look at it. But I'm lucky enough to be in Croke Park on Saturday night, so 18,000, which is great. And
will you be wearing a pair of socks?
McDonagh Final. Oh,
will you have a pair of socks?
He's wearing them himself now, sure. He's wearing them himself now. Jackie, he's wearing them himself now. He is. Yeah.
That's a big shock.
Not the final we anticipated, probably, lads. We all thought Galway were nearly a shoe-in to win Leinster. But who's it? That young Landers? Who's it? Hide this head. Does he know this head to be turned, does he? Hi, James. Does he know this head to be turned?
Hello.
Dad, can be on the tablet.
He says, I can't be on the tablet at this hour of the morning.
Yeah, he's right.
He knows I delayed
him. Give Dalo a wave. Give him a wave. Go down, Channel. Go down. Thank you. Go on, shoot.
He's watching. He's watching your screen.
That was his tea break now, lads. He has to feed them young fellas out working every morning. They have the horses groomed and everything already,
The cool camp is a big plus this week, Dalo.
Oh, cool camp is vital. I'd say all three are.
Yeah. Fair play.
That's the stuff. Yeah, but late start, lads, which has been a bit of a talking point as well. 7:30 for Leinster Final. Hardly seems right either, does it? But look, sure, everyone get to see it anyway. So
it's a killer.
We
weren't
expecting this final, I suppose. What?
Sorry, Dale. I was just saying, it's a killer about the games. I know we want to talk about the match, but they're all like the times they're on. I suppose. Look, they are on because there's so much going on. But even for, I suppose you've often said it. We've often said it. Everyone says it. The older folk, who don't have the Sky Sports, they won't be able to see a hurling match. The early hurling match is Saturday. They'll try and stream them, I suppose, and everything. But look, it is what it is. I suppose it's a first world problem, isn't it? But sure, look. Listening on the radio anyway, lads. That's what we're saying. There's good old commentary on the radio.
I've been tuning into there. It's top class stuff.
But Shane, what's worse is the first round qualifiers. One is on at 1:30 and the other's on at 2:00.
Yeah,
I can't understand how bring forward the first one in half an hour and put back the second one in half an hour. For anybody who wants to watch the two hurling games, and I think one of them is on J Go. Is the other one on Sky? Is it no?
Yeah, Clare-Wexford's on Sky. Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense that they're actually clashing against each other. And I know that there's other probably football matches and stuff on, like, but from a hurling point of view, how they're not staggered is surprising for me, like, you know.
It is early even. The Clare, I'm giving out about the Leinster Final being so late. The Clare thing is early enough to 1:30, like people are saying, it's Saturday. A lot of people working, and you know, anyway, look, I suppose we can't keep everyone happy all the time. And maybe we could have gone for a Sunday night option for one of the games. I don't know how feasible that would have been. Maybe the Laois Waterford game there, you know, it would have given Laois, you know, another day as well, recovery wise. We spoke about that earlier, and anyway, they're down for what they are now anyway. So look,
a bit of a surprise, all right? Yeah. You're right.
They have full value,
but you know what? But Anthony, it is great for the game of hurling that Dublin are in the finals. Like it just proves that if you're a smidgen off in your preparation or your attitude, that you get turned over, and that is the key. That's the key thing for me. Like, you know, is that you know, like the Dublin played well on the sorry lads. Yes, though. Come on, you gotta go, Mammy. Mammy's outside the front window waving in.
Bring in the nanny, sure, catch up.
Yeah, she's on the way now as well. Go on, TJ, you drive on there. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Thanks.
Okay. I think, Dalo, I'm a small bit, what you call that? Maybe either fraudulent or what Gatti said in Gary's plan, what you'd know talking about the Leinster Final, because I tipped Galway and Wexford to be in the Leinster Final, so that's a bad start. There's something about this Kilkenny team the last day that impressed me. The young fellas are good. The returns from the likes of Cody, like as Shane said already, the Ballyhale contingent, it's huge. I'm definitely going to go for Kilkenny. There's a little bit of value, I think, if you fancy the two favourites. Limerick, Kilkenny will double your money the weekend if you're of that kind of way of thinking. It's difficult to see Dublin. I thought Dublin played well the last day, but you'd have to be disappointed with Galway's performance. Just didn't hit it. They missed a load of opportunities. Just left Dublin in the game and left them grow. A couple of things I'll say about Dublin that are major positives. Their full back line is doing really, really well. They marked the Galway guys really, really well the last day. I think was there a question mark about Owen O'Donnell? I'm not sure. I'm hoping that he's going to be okay. And I think
there's a huge question there.
Okay, well he is massive. Oh, geez, massive, yeah. So I was fierce impressed with their full forward line, and you'd have to say what we spoke about maybe with Tipp there a while ago. Like their ball winning ability of their half forward line has definitely been a major contributor to their success in the last couple of games. Danny Sutcliffe has come to the party in a major way. Crummy, like Ronan Hayes is a real tag at a full forward. We now know what Donald Burke brings. There is definitely improvement there. I wouldn't say they're without a chance, but Brian Cody, Kilkenny, Leinster Finals, some things don't change, do they?
No, and they have, you know, I'd love to be able to hedge my bet now, and we were having this podcast Saturday night or Saturday afternoon and having a look at the Wexford form from the Wexford Kilkenny game, which was so, and possibly you'd say maybe Wexford should have won in normal time. There was no question about who finished the powerful team. But I'd love to know what that form is like. Do you know, where is that form? Wexford's form is very indifferent in the league. But if you were just to take the match on face value, Wexford looked like they were back to 2019 form. So that leaves Kilkenny in a very healthy place, I'd say. And we all know they're the team that beat Kilkenny that year. So, you know, it was very nearly like a Kilkenny-Wexford All-Ireland that year. So that's huge as well. So it's just, I'd like to just know where that form is at the minute. But definitely the way with Adrian Mullen back and the way Evan Cody's beginning to say, I'm a leader here, you know, sticking up my hand and taking on, you know, stuff maybe that we didn't maybe, like he wasn't kind of doing that sort of stuff, or he was lethal and brilliant, and the contribution from the Ballyhale guys, as Hoagie said to us last week, just incredible. And would you say they're real All-Ireland contenders, Shane?
Oh, they are every year, lads. Jesus, no matter what, like, you know, if they could only muster up 12 or 13 lads and they could start the match with 13 of them, you're still hard bet because of the culture they have and the belief they have, and it's never say die with them, no matter what it is or what match they're playing. Like, whoever pulls on a Kilkenny jersey, as soon as you walk in, into the dressing room, you're told, this is it. Like, this is what's expected of you. We've all compared them to the New Zealand rugby team and the culture they have. And geez, lads, like, to have a culture like they have, if every club in Ireland had it, they'd have way more success. And that's for me what it is. Like, we can talk about tactics and everything, but they have a culture of, you're hurling for Kilkenny, you have a jersey, you have to do the jersey proud, leave it in a better place than you got it. Like, and they for me, hats off to probably one of the greatest sports managers in the world, but not known outside of it, Cody, the way he changed his team to figure out Wexford. Like, and for me, that's what they really did. They figured out how to hurl against Wexford. They knew, right, lads, sometimes we can let it in, but sometimes we're going to have to carry it through the line. And like, that was massive for them, their impact from the bench we spoke about, like Paddy Deegan, like, put down a big marker as well, as I heard someone talk about it during the week. He got a good yellow card, like, himself and Chin have had fair battles, but he got a good yellow card that day. And that's what you get from the Paddy Deegans. And we spoke about Cody. I was listening to Eddie Brennan talking during the week. Eddie said that Cody went in a couple of years ago, Dalo, and he was marking Jackie, I think, one of Jackie's maybe last county finals, maybe for James Stevens. And Jackie said he'd try and test him out, and hit him a dunt. And he said, no bother to Cody, but he just hopped off him and said, if that's the way we wanted, we'll do it today. And 2 years on now, look at the S&C that he's after doing. We're talking about what Limerick did. Look at the S&C works going on with Kilkenny boys. Like, Cody he doesn't mind what way the ball comes in. 1-5 from play the last day, no bother to him at all. And I just think, TJ as well, like, Cody's at one end, trying to get there, and TJ's at the other end. But I think TJ, since I think it was 2012, did he break his knee? He broke his kneecap or something. And since then, I don't think TJ Reid has missed a game with an injury, a serious muscle injury, like a hamstring or anything like that, because of he just changed his mindset as well, and as S&C. And while he's at the other end going 34, still going so well. And I think the Ballyhale boys scored 124 or something between them. Something phenomenal, like, so Jesus, it's worrying. And, no Colin Fennelly either, like, which is kind of a strange one for me at the point he's at in his career, to say to Cody, I'm not going to hurl this year. Like,
Shane, and I make this point now, right? I'm delighted that Colin Fennelly is not there, right? Because he basically gave the 2 fingers to Brian Cody because he dropped them last year, right? And he was captain, right? There can only be one manager at the end of the day. And I don't care, who's telling Colin Fennelly, you were wrong, you were this, that, and the other. You have to fight for your jersey every day of the week. And there are players that get harshly treated and they get dropped and they get taken off. Like, but to say, I'll take a year out now, right? It's basically saying, if Cody fecks up this year, he'll be gone next year and the new fella will bring me back. I'm delighted, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of old club players going around the place that are old rubbish as well now, right? And listen to it now. I'm fucking delighted. And I hope Kilkenny go on to win the All-Ireland and the Colin Fennelly misses out, to be honest with you, because I thought it was pure rubbish out of him. And for the family tradition that they have, right, and where he's coming from, he'd rather bite his tongue and get on with it and win his place back again this year and say to Brian Cody, I got my place back despite you. I will be honest with it. If he retired, I'd have said fine, I'd have left it off, right? But to say that he was taking a year out, I said, no, I hope Kilkenny win the All-Ireland and he's not involved. I'd be straight with you now.
I think there's a big call.
Sorry.
No, and I tell you, there's a message there for every. But listen, there's fellas in your
own
club.
Maybe he just did want a year out.
Huh?
Maybe he just did want a year out. Maybe he just wanted a year out.
At his age, no way. No way.
He could be going travelling or anything.
Sure, hadn't he do enough of that for the peacekeeping he was on in the army for long enough?
That was working. He was working on those trips. Jesus, he was outside in the Lebanon, for God's sake. He wasn't in.
So he's plenty travelling done so.
You're a gas man, Landers. I'm telling you. But look, the Dubs lads, Matty, I suppose people were saying it was kind of getting near the end game, but he has responded like a manager that won back-to-back All-Ireland clubs with a county that done with him. In fairness to him, right through the league, I question maybe was some of the rhetoric for real here, like that every day we were taking something out of it and we're building something. And by God, he, the way he has settled that defence has been something. And I just think, like, and I'll probably be doing a bit of highlighting of it, hopefully on Saturday, the role of Conor Burke in sitting near enough to Liam Rush and not so much behind him. Not so much behind him as in this traditional 7th defender role, driving forward, getting points, setting up scores, but allowing Rush the comfort of knowing that there's a complete athlete in front of him, around him. I think that's very clever management out of Matty, and I love it. But I think the Eoin O'Donnell one could be a game changer. Like, TJ, when you think about the last day, like Smith, Cian O'Callaghan might have to go into full back, better cornerback, great player, great defender now. And by Jesus, you know what? If his brother was playing for Dublin, I'd be tipping Dublin to win it.
Yeah,
full forward.
absolutely.
It's cruel, I'd say, especially for Matty, who probably, he was brought through by a lot of great underage work in Coola and with Dublin as well. Would have played in that All-Ireland minor final. But if you had him at the other end of the field on side running Hayes, geez, you'd be saying they'd be potent, like, around the field. The way Sutcliffe is hurling.
Crummy, Donald Burke.
Yeah, Crummy, Donald Burke's really, like, we're on about Cody stepping up. Donald Burke has really stepped up, not being just a free taker. I mean, he's delivering now in general play big time. Ryan McBride midfield delivering big time in play. Like, I think this could be a real battle as well. I don't think there'll be much in this one. I wouldn't be doing the handicap favourites, TJ, whatever they are, to cover. I'd be going against them covering, and I haven't even looked at them now, to be honest with you. I'm even had a bet in the golf. I must have a look this evening when they come in. But no,
like,
I honestly,
the first 15 minutes, Dalo, in this match could dictate where the Bob O'Keefe would be going. Because I think the longer the Dublin stay in the game, the more they'll grow in confidence. And I'd have to say, I met John Costello actually last Saturday night down in Nolan Park after the under-21, and I know I've met him a good few times out through the years, and you saw you. Like, he's a fantastic man at the head of the helm there, like, with Dublin. And it's no surprise to me that Dublin are in it. I'm surprised how Galway played, but they're putting time and effort and money into the Dublin hurlers. They want as much success out of the hurling as they have got with the football. And what the football have done has been massive. But they have a really, really good nucleus of a team right now. Physical presence, strength, and plenty hurling as well. And you're right about Conor Callaghan. If he was available to the Dublin forwards, he'd be brilliant. But there's no point in saying those Sutcliffe, Crummy, Donald Burke, Ronan Hayes, they'll have to deliver big time on the scoreboard to get the victory on Saturday night. And I think for me, the Eoin O'Donnell thing, if he's fit to play, as you know, whether you play club or county, when one of your top players declares himself fit on the Thursday night before the match, everybody gets a boost. The players, the management, the supporters, all of a sudden. Now they are prepared for it. They are knowing he's a big doubt. So that's a help. Rather than losing a fella on a Thursday night before a Leinster. Imagine if you lost Eoin O'Donnell on Thursday night and try to pick the boys up, so they know that he's a major doubt. But he'd be a massive shot in the arm if he's available to play, and he could be a game winner for them.
I'd say the call is made at this stage. I'd say if you're Matty and that level of a manager, you can't really risk leaving it to Thursday night,
right?
On a big boost or
But Dale, it's the biggest game in Dublin hurling for I suppose it was 2013. You won the Leinster, was it?
Yeah,
is it the biggest game?
14,
yeah.
Leinster Final.
He'll be given every opportunity, Anthony, to be right.
Yeah, I wonder at this stage, do they do that? We always
right. Okay.
We'd be growing up on that, TJ, wouldn't we, lads? Yeah, that's the fitness test Sunday morning out in Dundrum or somewhere like. He was grand, but I'd say at this stage they have to kind of have. I presume you're looking at something like Cian O'Callaghan in full, someone into the corner. Try and keep the Conor Burke. I know Conor Burke went back there when he went off the last day. You're still saying a hamstring 2 weeks is going to be desperate tight. But calling this, we'd all probably be giving Kilkenny the nod, I presume.
Yeah, for me, I thought, like Shane said a while ago, I was fierce impressed with Kilkenny's setup. I thought there was a change in Cody. There was a different first 15. They left Wexford had the puck outs. They managed them to perfection. There was a little bit of a change up here and there. They struggled with Dublin in the second half last year, Dalo, after a great start, right? And it was kind of more the system they struggled with rather than the actual game. I think he's got that mastered, and it's Kilkenny for me.
Yeah, Mark?
Yeah, I think the longer the Dublin stay in the game, the better chance they'll have and I suppose I grew up on watching Kilkenny and watching Cody very closely, and I'd be a big believer in Kilkenny, to be honest with it. I think they'll get over the line on Saturday night. I do, yeah.
Yeah, and Shane, you'll be going along. You think they're real contenders again, which is a fair.
I do. And we're talking about, the match down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh going to the bench. Like if Cody does have to go to the bench, 1-9 off the bench the last day from 7 different lads. I mean, geez, there's some confidence to have in the group that if the 15.
Donnelly on the bench, like what?
Donnelly on the bench, you know what I mean? The likes of James Borgen. Like, I mean, he was massive the last day. I mean, these are kind of an unknowns really outside of maybe Kilkenny or hurling people maybe who really follow the thing. And they've really stepped up. So yeah, I would. I just want to say something quickly about Keane O'Callaghan. I don't know Keane O'Callaghan personally, but I tell you, I've seen him a few times. He has a mullet on him, right? And as someone said to me, a mullet is not a hair, too. It's a lifestyle choice. And he strikes me as a fella. He's business on top, party at the back. But a good one I heard was he likes to party with 2 R's because he looks like he's up for the crack. But I tell you, he's hurling some stuff for Dublin at the moment. And as you say, I never knew. I never actually knew he was Con's brother either. So they must have some. They must have been hopping off each other there as young lads.
I'd have brought him in. In early 13 on into, and he made his place then very quickly. Himself and Colm Cronin were the same age at the time. Often was shocked that Colm Cronin was never kept in the system for Dublin. God, he played in the Leinster Final centre forward in 14 and got a brilliant goal. And I suppose doctors differ, and that's what you just get in this game. But they'd be rock solid guys. And if he's beaten at the weekend, it won't be for want of being right up here. He'll be beaten by a better player because he'll defend and he's tenacious and he'd have a few of the dark arts too,
Yeah, and he's a great lad outside him in Dara Gray as well.
Yeah, top guy. To be round the two of them,
Yeah,
Dad is a great bloke and great clubmen as well. They deliver for their club, football and hurling. Con rocks up every year there for Coolan, does the business So yeah, look, hoping for a great one there. I suppose, look, there's a big one on earlier in the day. We touched on it earlier. I suppose it was inevitable that they'd meet again. Tis a rivalry that I never thought I'd experience. Clare and Wexford. There was a kind of a love there for Wexford all my life, and unlike year 3 counties. Not with GT just 96, I understand that, but we never met them even in our heyday, only a few league games, and they actually turned out to be good old evenings as well. they were always taken kind of half okay, but yeah, there's just that rivalry now, and I suppose it is a factor. It's well out there, the Davy Bryan factor. There's no love lost. TJ, you think there's going to be a kiss and make up with this on Saturday? I'll wait and see that. I haven't heard that. So the match would more concern me. There'll be a bit of, I'd say the COVID thing has added to the bit of bike, lads, and without dragging it all up again, I would say Wexford didn't handle it properly. And I would say the chairman calling Brian Lohan out to apologise then was not too popular in the Clare camp, right? So that was put to bed at the time, but then it might be dragged up this week by players, I'd say. So I don't think the management will be talking about that, but players are players. They feel a sense of loyalty to each other, and the 2 lads that were named as close contacts and no one in Wexford named as a close contact, I'd say that could be mentioned the Clare trend this week. Whether that level any bearing in the game, as I said earlier, I thought Wexford back to the 2019, if the form is that strong, if Kilkenny are that good, I've been kind of saying for a couple of years that Munster's a nice bit stronger than Leinster. Hoagie told us different last week, so we'll have to respect as well. It was the best game in a long time. No, look, we'll get a fair idea, because Clare and Tipp, I think, was going to be a classic until the controversial decision. It looked that way anyway, that it was going to go right down to the wire. And who's to say Tipp wouldn't have won it by 4 or 5? I don't know. They did win it by 4, but it looked like it was going to be a great game. I think Limerick Cork had the potential to be a great game, didn't quite get there, but really look forward to Sunday. So I'm just not sure where the Wexford form is. Clare are after putting in 2 monumental efforts and still kind of find themselves at the bottom rung of the ladder, if you know what I mean. Not in terms now of their standing, but in terms of where you have to go to try and do something. Right. So very hard to know whose heads will be in the best position to win.
Like the funny thing, sorry, you just mentioned it there, Dalo, like you're both Clare, right? If they were to win the All-Ireland, they played twice. They have round 1, round 2, quarter-final, semi-final, and final. 7 championship matches without a draw, right? It's unheard of in the modern era. Like, I mean, we won an All-Ireland in '99 with 4 games, like.
Yeah, we won 2 with 8.
7. Incredible, isn't it? You know. So you're right. They probably got the short end of the stick there, like, you know. But there's 2 matches going on in that game, like, you know. There is the Clare and Wexford thing, and there's the Brian Lohan and Davy, and there's no point in saying otherwise. And you know, I mean, I mentioned the last day, like, I thought Brian Lohan's interview was box office stuff straight after the match, and you know, he held his composure and was very direct. And you know, you rarely see that kind of it, and I think that's probably the way he manages the Clare team as well. We also saw him on a couple of occasions at the water breaks, what it really means to him, like in terms of the no-nonsense, simple message. There's no playboard with Brian Lohan, just get out and do your business. So I like him as a manager, I must say, and I think the Clare players are playing for him as well, Anthony. And I thought he got a massive tune out of the players last year against Wexford above in Portlaoise. That was a Tony Kelly show, and I thought Wexford wasn't great now on the day, and there was a lot of talk, and it was the first year of COVID and stuff like that. So I think Wexford are better prepared this year, and their performance against Kilkenny the last day, that has probably been the standout match in the championship this year. And they've got the fortnight in between the games to get them to, I suppose, to come down off that high and come back up again. You know, I think it's going to be very close, but I think the Wexford form is strong. And again, the biggest question again, like, if Tony Kelly is held, I mean, Wexford will surely have a plan. Probably didn't give him enough respect last year in last year's game. It was a tour de force. I think Wexford will be better prepared for him this year. And unless Kelly hits 210, I don't know whether Clare are going to get enough scores there to actually get over that night. And I like Clare now, I must say, and I like Lohan. But I think that the form of Wexford is very, very strong at the moment. And Rory O'Connor, Lee Chin are hurling out of their skins at the moment.
Yeah, I'd say, look, that means obviously you're giving slight nod to Wexford, and that's understandable.
That pains me now. Like, come here.
Yeah, and come here. No, but it's legit. It's very logical as well, the thinking. You know, I just thought I was a bit more impressed with our forwards, like, because I thought you would have to say Carl Barrett did a fair old job on Tony. Tony kept going though, and 1-2 from play, and I think he was fouled for 2 more frees. Come up with 1-4 by himself, like, let's say. I wonder, have they someone to mark him? Like, and even in the league game this year, he went off with the ankle injury this year in that league game, and I think Clare's form, like, kind of is more consistent. Wexford, they beat Laois now, but Laois were very poor in the day, and then they played very well the last day. But Clare finished
but they also went after Laois. They had no mercy on the score. It was a 5:30 something. They scored against.
And they went for goals.
No mercy whatsoever.
Yeah, no, they went for goals. Yeah,
did it. And
but I just thought other lads. I thought Ian Galvin. I thought Aidan McCarthy. I thought Colin Galvin. I thought all of those guys played better when Tony was being relatively held. Do you know?
Right.
If Shanahan, for me, could decide the game, if Shanahan can just put a few scores with the amount of ball he's winning. And it does give them a dilemma, because Matt O'Hanlon was put on Kelly last year and he couldn't really keep marking, being honest. He wasn't able for him pace-wise. So he went on Shanahan in the league game. I was lucky enough to be at the league game, one of the ones I was covering. And he couldn't stop Shanahan from catching it either that day. So I think an awful lot depends on there. And if Shane O'Donnell is back, and we just don't know, I can't find out in Clare whether Shane O'Donnell is back or not. I'm hearing he's training, but he's light training, and don't know. I know the protocol part of it would be over. But for me, if Shane O'Donnell was back, we'd have an awful lot better chance up front. And David McInerney will certainly start as well, I'd say, having got the game under his belt last week. You know, so, look, I find it desperate hard to call myself. I kind of very TJ.
The ads for the Hurling and the GAA a good number of years ago featured "This is huge," and I think this game is huge. Lohan, 2 years, can't afford to lose here, right? Where is he in his overall managerial with Clare? Is Davy at the end of the road? The loser here goes home with some pain. I actually don't know where I am in this game myself, right? I think the rules will come into play here, the new rules. I see the GA have sent for Hurling. I do agree with you in the league. They couldn't handle Shannon in the air. There was a sending off, or sorry, a sin bin. Last year comes into play. Wexford are definitely better.
It was a sending off, PJ.
It's enough. Yeah. I think Clare are better. I did earlier on this year a course here in work here with some of the team, right? It was a wigwam course, right? But one of the major sayings in work, right, was win the week, win the war. And I think this game is for either side, win the week, win the war.
So everyone inside that print company by every Monday morning has to win the week and win the war. And Friday they're saying, Jesus, give me a pint there. TJ Ryan telling me Monday morning to win the week. Ruthless game.
Ruthless game.
Yeah, as you said, huge game. Shane?
Yeah, just a couple of things, I suppose. It's a relatively new pair in Dalo, and that I think your first meeting was 2002. You've played 8 times. Clare have won 6 of them. So if we're going to go with tradition, and maybe tradition goes out the window, Clare have had Wexford in the bigger games with this. The other side of it is, and I understand what Mark is saying there about Tony Kelly, and we would have been the same maybe in Tipp as well, that we would said if we hold Tony Kelly, we'll go a long way to beating Clare. But Clare got 113 from play from the rest of their players. They got, like, if Shannon has the shooting boots on the next day, lads, he could shoot the lights out because it's coming. Like, he could have scored 3-4 the first day. Didn't happen. Scored a point from play the last day, but got on the world of ball. Aidan McCarthy point from play. David Reedy point from play. Ian Galvin 1-3. Ryan Taylor 2 points. And even the midfielders, Cullum and Cathal Malone, they get 3 points from play. So I think what Clare have this year in comparison to last year, in my opinion, is more lads that can score from play. Maybe they have more confidence in themselves. Maybe they feel like, like Tony is like, like the good under 12 lad where he's taking the sidelines, the frees, the penalties, nearly the puck outs and poking it out and going up and catching it himself. Like that. I think this year Clare have, it's instilled in them to say, look, lads, you're all good hurlers as well. And if you feel the score is on, take it. We don't have to do everything through Tony. Obviously, Tony is a massive outlet, but you said he scored, I think it was 1-1, 1-2 from play the last day. Got another point that wasn't allowed there near that. I seen you looking at it, Dalo. You were just over my right shoulder in the Mackey stand. He got a point that wasn't allowed as well. So even your Rory Hayes popped up with a point. So I think you have players now around the field, in my opinion, that are taking a little bit of the burden off Tony if he's not shooting the lights out from play. From frees, he's going to do it. So that's why I think it's a massive plus for you. I think Davy's first win against Wexford was in the league. Would I be right in saying that? Played him maybe 4 times, yeah. So all these things going, I think Clare, someone passing there now. I think Clare are more of a wounded animal going into this than Wexford. I think Wexford are going in full of, they're buzzing after their performance. The style of play, lads, for me, sapped the energy out of them. And that's when it came to extra time, they just didn't have the legs to carry it forward. So I think that Wexford are coming off the back of, we played really well, we just ran out of steam. And I think Clare are coming off the back of, the world is against us here, lads. The world, and especially Wexford, for everything that's going on. I'll tell you what, I'll put it like this. If Netflix could do a series on Lohan versus Davy, they would have some viewership, so they would. So it'd be unbelievable, all the subplots and everything that's going on. And I think that for me, now this is the fella who tipped Antrim twice now, by the way, so don't take it.
Don't say it, Shane, don't.
Dalo, put the hex on you, Dalo.
I could have put the hex on you. I think Clare are coming in a good place. They hurled well against Tipp. The controversy that went on, etc., etc. They're going to be really hurt over it. They have the hurt already from the Wexford thing. And I think Brian Lohan, and obviously the man opposite him, so passionate and everything. I think the players have huge respect for Lohan as well. You can see that in their demeanour in the Gaelic grounds last day. I think you're going to do it, Dalo. I think the Clare boys are going to do it. It will be tidy, but I do think Clare's name will be in that bowl Monday morning for the next round of the draw.
Good stuff, Shanny. Good stuff. Good analysis of the whole thing. I very much think, and if Netflix do decide to do that documentary, they'll have a good bit more footage of the number 1 than the number 3. Lohan hasn't appeared in too much stuff. But anyway, Yeah, who'd love to be a fly in the wall in both places this week, wouldn't you? To hear what the build up and that. I think Clare may be slightly more balanced team with Davy Mack back, with Shane O'Donnell back. I think we might have a better team now. I think Colm Galvin back, Ian Galvin back. I think Clare way stronger than last year, but I think Wexford way better than last year as well, though. So I think a bit of luck on this, lads. Like, you know, like a long range shot from Lee Chin that instead of floating over in Thurles, hits the post and drops down. And there's Conor McDonald to whip it to the net. And that, we all know that bit of luck is in hurling, isn't it? You know, when you make your own look and all that out talking. Yeah. That's the bit of luck sometimes you need.
Like, so where does Thurles come into this? Where does Fergal Hagen come into this, I wonder? You know, we know that Fergal Hagen is going to leave the game go. Like, would you see Wexford being slightly more physical, do you think, than Clare? Will it be a help to Wexford? They've had him refed him already this year. They know exactly what he's going to go through, you know.
Oh, yeah, but I'd say the Clare team that we have now with the likes of Rory Hayes and Conor Cleary, Paul Flanagan, Conlon at centre back, they're going to love that stuff as well. Like, you know, Galvin back in the middle of the field. I wouldn't see that as I honestly think it'll be that tight. It'll be a bit, a bit of genius or a bit of luck that'll swing it. I mean, you know, the likes of Chin, the way he hurled the last day in normal time, my God. You know, he was on fire. Kilkenny couldn't stop him. So there's that. Like, it's not just about Tony Kelly. Rory O'Connor's hurling the stuff of his life.
Rory O'Connor, yeah. McDonald and Chin,
Conor
three great
could do
forwards.
anything. You know, so, absolutely. I see them nearly back to 19 form, and I'd say we'll know if they're back to the 19 form by 4 o'clock on Saturday, 3 o'clock. Yeah. So let's wait and see. I'd be hoping my own crowd will pull through anyway. I think we could, but look. Hopefully there's all sorts of kids.
Is that 2-all? Is it 2 Wexford, 2 Clare?
I'm going to go along with Shane. I'm going to go with the Netflix series. I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to go with a draw at full time here. I'm going to go with a draw after extra time, and I'm going to go for Wexford to win on penalties.
Whoa!
Mic drop.
Some week over the next few years, he's going to get one of these right. Like,
and Dalo, I'm forecasting to shake hands after the game.
No chance.
Okay. Well, you see,
there we go.
All you fellas working in Limerick City, you know more about things like that than a lad living out here in West Clare on the sticks where I am. Like, you know, the lads drinking in Murty Browns have none of that sort of info for me. But you're back to outdoor dining in the city now, and you're meeting all these fellas that are working in Shannon, and they're hearing stuff that I don't hear.
Dalo, are you doing toasted specials in the pub, Dalo?
No, but if we know you're coming, Mark, we'll usually throw in a bit of grub from somewhere anyway. We get it down from the deli in Fitzpatrick's.
I definitely would have a toasted special.
Just to Michael Fitz and Josie and the staff up there.
Right.
Toasted special. Would you not
I'll
just
have a toasted special and a
pints,
soup on TJ. There'll be no handshake, no chance.
Fair enough.
All right, so you're saying no handshakes. We need the camera on the sideline. I presume Sky will look after the camera on the boys anyway, you know. Lads, the other one, I presume we're expecting Waterford to bounce, are we? Prunty's back, I heard. Jamie Barron is back, so there's bound to be a sting in them. Now, Laois were very good at the weekend. It's just, you know, yeah, you just get the sense, and I know, Shane, you talked it up great early on, and it was what I actually listened to the commentary with you, and it was great commentary, and you know yourself how easy to do a commentary it is when the match is really good. And I got that sense off you, but you wonder, is it a sense now of the work is done for Laois, and maybe the only other bit of work now we have to try and do is beat Westmeath in the playoff game for the league. And I wonder then,
you could see the relief in the group, Cheddar included, and I just said hello to Cheddar. He was walking in wishing the best of luck, and he was nervous. Like, you know, there was a real nervousness about it. It was knockout hurling. The prize was massive for the winners, for the losers back down to Joe Mack, you know, and trying to come back up again and rebuild the thing. But like, the relief in the group was massive. I think they'll go out and they'll hurl with freedom, and you know, they might hit a purple patch in the game, but I just think they look so tired. You know, they gave everything they had. Like, Paddy Purcell nearly had to be carried off the field. He was getting cramps on top of cramps and everything, and you know, they were just wrecked after it. And I agree with you, Dalo. I think they feel, for them, their year now has been good, and everything else is a bonus. But you know, you will see a bit of freedom in their play. They'll go at it as well. But if they go 15-15 against Waterford, which the players seem to want to do, I just think Waterford blow them out of the water. I think Waterford, especially with Cahill, will have them boys told in no uncertain circumstances. The last day was not good enough. Would have roasted them for the last 3 weeks. I'd say hardly fed them even. And
I'd say that's,
you know what I mean? You know, and they'll be coming in all guns blazing. I'd expect Waterford to be winning this handy, lads. You know.
Yeah, I don't
minus 14 points. I see there, TJ.
Yeah. I'd say it's an ideal game for Waterford. Liam Cahill will be happy.
Absolutely.
Look, there's no point in being disrespectful to Laois. I concur with everything Shane is there. Said, like, Laois, you could see they put everything into last weekend. They got their results. They're probably in bonus territory, right? But I'm saying for Waterford, I kind of felt the last set of Waterford were finishing strong against Clare. They would get better. The little break would have suited them. I think it's ideal. And, yeah, Waterford to win nicely for me.
Okay, and they'll probably be the team, maybe some teams like Galway and Cork would say would like to avoid the following week because probably Clare and Wexford will go put an awful lot into this no matter who comes out of it. And maybe anyway, we'll see what way that pans out anyway. We know more. We the Joe McDonagh final as well, lads. To say that their form going into it has been humpy bumpy, it would be an understatement. I mean, the buzz, it's not this time last year, obviously it was Christmas nearly. The buzz in Kerry last year, you know, and some of the hype and, you know, Kerry being in the Ireland and the footballers out of it and the hurling lads in North Kerry were milking it. So it's very low key, I know, in Kerry. They don't feel they're in the best of form, but they've gotten there. Only on scoring difference by a goal, I think. It was a goal and 4 points in it. Incredible stuff. Westmeath maybe slightly better form, but struggled enough with Kildare the last day. So both not sure.
Match down in Crow Park as well, Anthony. It's the preceding Leinster final, isn't it?
Yeah, live coverage for that, Mark. We have a long day Saturday. We have, so we're on at 5 o'clock for that. Looking forward to it now, and I think that's the rightful. I mean, we would have said maybe before an All-Ireland semi-final or even before the All-Ireland final, like last year, was the right day for the Joe McDonagh final. But maybe look, this year with clubs fighting over trying to start football championships and everything else that's going on, it's still a big setting to give it before the feels a bit rushed, I have to say, but at the same time, it is a good day to play, and we just don't have the crowds, unfortunately. But hard to call it. I just think I've just a feeling Kerry with less hype might come out. Like last year, you had Sonny Egan, the great Sonny Egan from Crotta, from Kilflane, coming out writing a song about him and singing it to him on the bus before they took off from, I think they left from Abbeydorney, and Sonny was there to sing Mighty Kerry Men. I just thought this might be better for Fintan and his men, but obviously Shane O'Brien had a rough and tumble campaign in Division 1A, but maybe it'll stand to him on a day like Sunday. What would your overall take be on it?
I'd probably go along with that one. That the experience in Division 1A would be a massive boost. And I think what I read about Kerry was it was a 77-minute point. The last day when they got beat was to level up the scoring differences, right? The actual scores for were the same, and Kerry qualified over down.
More goals.
They just had 4 goals scored.
More goals
3 goals scored. Yeah, more scores. Yeah. So you're spot on, Dalo.
Mikey Boyle, I think, put it over, and half him saying to him like, "We're 5 points down, Mikey. We'll let it in."
I think it was in 77 minutes. So there's a kind of there's a fairy tale in there somewhere that score. But like hard one to call as well. Like both teams will fancy having a cut off of this. Like we all know, sometimes anyone who's played 45 is that sometimes when you get that handy trick, then you go for it. So it's kind of set up for Kerry in that way that they can really go for this now, right? That they've got the bonus, they're in the final. Again, I probably wouldn't know a huge amount both teams. I haven't seen them play, right? Like seen a bit of Westmeath in Division 1A. Maybe give them the nod and saying, look, if they've learned something from Division 1A, here's a game where you can bring that to the table, and that might get you over the line.
I think a lot of what you said, Anthony, earlier on. I do think that Kerry got caught in the headlights last year. They came up against a very physical Antrim team and probably didn't get a whole pile of breaks in the match. Shane Conway, I suppose, is key. I mean, if he turns up and plays one of his stormers, he's capable of beating any team in his own. Look at the Kerry results this year. They haven't awfully beat him well earlier on the season in the league, hammered him and that wouldn't have been expected. Kerry's form hasn't been great, Anthony, this year. I think they'll need a massive performance out of them to get over the line. I'd be giving the nod slightly to Westmeath, I must say. I do think their experience will help them. But Kerry, in fairness to the Kerry County Board, they've given them every opportunity. They're promoting hurling in Kerry, as you know, as well, and they're putting money into the team. And it's fantastic to see them back in the final again.
Yeah, and Shane, one of the big things is the Jobber Dial, who would have played Railway Cup right up to the end there. He wouldn't be old now by any means with Leinster, and Irish Dobbs marvel at him, how good he was. But they've put him from full back out to centre back. And funny enough, Shane Conway is gone in full forward of late. Now, all these things. Yeah, but that could be, like, if Conway can hit form in Croke Park, lads, this guy would be playing with anyone.
Oh, it's unbelievable talent. We've all seen what he's done at Fitzgibbon level 2, Dale, I suppose, with UCC and all the, all the top inter-county guys would marvel at this guy, at how good he is, at his ease, scoring 9-10 points in a match. I thought he was kind of snuffed out, I suppose, last year, wasn't he? A slower pitch, Antrim were more physical, didn't get a chance to express himself up at the Joe Mac final last year. For me, lads, I suppose I'm going to go Westmeath as well. I think being up in Division 1, whether, they gave a great account of themselves against Waterford, obviously very demoralising going down to Cork and getting that bait, but would learn so much more than you would learn then, down the divisions. The other thing is, I suppose, they've played Carlow and Kildare, who for me, with all due respect, would be a better opposition than Down or Meath, who Kerry would have played. And Meath beating Kerry, I think they beat them by 4 points, wasn't it? I think Westmeath are coming into it in a good place. I think they learned a lot from Division 1. I think they won their 2 games. We know Carlow are good. We see now that Kildare are no slouches anymore either with their minors under 20s and the job that David Harrody's doing with Kildare up there. So from all that, with the experience from Division 1, winning their 2 matches, have some fantastic players down the centre, the spine of their team with the dials and everything. I think that Westmeath will do the business on Saturday evening. Dalo, anyway.
Yeah, we wish them both the very best of luck. I just have a feeling maybe a bit like Laois and Antrim that Kerry, without the form going into it, might just pull off one on the day. But
we'll fight them,
yeah, you never know. They'd need a massive one from Shane Conway, but also Shane Nolan, who wouldn't have been riddled by injuries the last while. And if the two of them click, I'll tell you, they're fair yokes. So interesting. Yeah, Westmeath entitled, as you said, the side that came out of the experiences in the National League. So we wish them all the best. That's about our lot, lads. We've gone over our time. I delayed you all to start. The fantasy hurling is now being led by the Temple Derry Kenyans. It's a top 3 from Tipperary, lads. And a good score from Killa in East Cork this week of 33. Now, of course, he's a lot of those players gone. I didn't even enter this week. You didn't enter, TJ.
There are 4 transfers allowed this weekend, Dalo. As I said to the last day, I was hoping that McManus and Clark would give me a few scores. I could have done a little bit better, but I'm happy there in the middle of the field there now. I could go up, but I'm closer to the top than the bottom, I'd say. So there's
it's still nicely condensed, though. It's Hoagie is cut off, and there's basically only 90 points then, top to bottom. And this weekend is moving weekend. It's like the golf, with the British Open this weekend. This is moving weekend. I still say TJ has a fair bit up his sleeve. There's a good few meetings to be held there, I'd say.
There is.
There's a good few meetings, and there's nothing in it at the top, but there's no doubt about it. Young Larry Ryan is becoming a bit of an expert at this game.
Yeah, he's going to have to go into management.
Yeah, I think the Clare-Wexford game is a big factor there as well, because you get two twists out of the winner, so that's a big call. I see my buddy is still top of the overall too, so there goes that's going to come back to haunt me. The only thing is, Shane, is look, I don't know this man. But my source tell me he's from Nina, and there's history. There's history. There's history. Well, when a fella doesn't put his name on the page, you always kind of wonder is the club correct, right? But there's Nina have history, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and there's our prizes there from Butler Hurley's lads. Thanks a million. As always, Toy, you've been great, and any bit of promotion we can give ye that any of us that are on social media, except Mark. But you can get Pamela to do it, Mark.
Leander's not on Twitter. Very active at the moment.
Disappeared. See this disappeared on the Green and White magazine. I think was it 25 years ago. The two was it 3 Munster finals or 2 Munster finals you had with them?
2 in '96. It was 25 years ago. Yes, my memory wouldn't be great, but I did see the picture. Yeah, on social media, and
we can clearly see that it's yourself. But I presume by the stance and the swing and the gait, it's the great Johnny Leahy.
It's Johnny Leahy. I think the messages will be pulled now. I think that's kind of that's we're trying to synchronize it. The hands are correct.
Talking being done. There wasn't any bit of talking being done at all. It was just I'm going pulling, and I know you're going pulling.
Do you know what I thought it was, Dalo? You know that competition years ago, spot the ball. That's what I thought the competition when I saw the picture.
You know but that is around TJ's kneecap.
Yeah, they have they have a habit of reappearing.
Any progress?
The golf you were just mentioned a while ago. Rory 22-1, finished 7th the last day in the US. I'd give him a squeak. I think this could be his time.
What time was he playing at? Like he's probably after bringing in 500 already or something. Is he? No, is your
no, I don't think he's played yet. I'll check out. I'll check out in a minute.
Anyone know how the defending champion is going there?
I don't know. I'll check out in a second.
Shane Lowry.
Yeah, he was out at about 10-10, I think so. Yeah,
I think we have McTenry and Jordan Spieth.
Okay, so let's be. And Dalo, before we go, I know that obviously you've got a bear. Shane's okay because he's a school teacher, and we know obviously what they do during the summer. Cellini last Sunday night, right? I was watching him. Dalo, he kind of reminded me of you, right? You captain. No,
playing soccer, is it?
No, that's not.
So you did see me playing soccer.
Yeah, do you know? He was captain. One of these nice, affable, easygoing guys, kind of in the zone, talking to the opposition, right? And then when the opportunity of a tackle came, Marco saw you in two. Do you know that kind of way? So kind of reminded me of Dalo. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Sorry with that.
Yeah, sorry with that.
Yeah. All my cousins in England were distraught, but the cousins that decided RC, I think, were happy enough with the result. Then they were straight out about it. There was a good bit of celebrating, and Murty Browns, I tell you, when it was all over. Let's just to finish up on a small bit of a somber note. Just to pay my respects and indeed from the pod, our great sponsor in Clare has been with us way back since 1992, I think. November 92, he came in the door. This fellow we never heard of, Pat O'Donnell. So Pat is burying his wife Marilyn today. So just to the O'Donnell family, I just want to express my sympathies and your sympathies. Great hurling men, great hurling people, the O'Donnells of Crusheen and RIP Maryland. So lads, we're extra long today. 1 hour and 52 minutes. Jeez, we'll be shot. Great stuff. And Shane, thanks a million for joining us. And look, may the best team win on Sunday. Don't be fighting the two of you. No. Take it easy, lads.
We may not be able to get in on the hurling action like we're used to yet, but we can get in on some exclusive offers from Renault. To celebrate their 3rd year as official car partner of the GAA, Renault is offering a range of special offers exclusive to all GAA club members. Check out renault.ie/GAA to find out more.
With Renault, passion for what drives you. Official car partner of the GAA.
A grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer